Hello, Mamdani. Hello, representative for the only tiny, twinkle of hope remaining in America's political system. I've been seeing so much discourse on social media from brain-dead neolibs who refuse to make their arguments about the rent freeze, and it's so fucking funny because they're literally the people that led us here. Like, the system of unchecked capital accumulation and total deference toward technocrats and governments who completely ignore the importance of politics are the reasons why the Republicans won and are winning, you know? You can't, like, it's like neoliberalism in theory, rational allocation of market capital. Neoliberalism in practice, you're getting raped to death, dog! They're fucking the kids! Anyway, Mamdani, what are you up to?
I mean, the election, the candidates you endorsed won down the line, and you knocked off two Democratic incumbent members of Congress. Is this like a unique moment in New York, or is this the beginning of a national movement?
I think we are seeing a hunger that is not just felt by New Yorkers, but frankly by Americans from coast to coast for a new kind of politics, one that puts working people at the heart of it. And I think for far too long, what we as a party have been able to say to New Yorkers who are struggling is simply to explain why they're struggling, not actually offer them a vision for how to make life better. And these candidates, Brad, Daria Lisa, Claire, they ran campaigns that spoke to working people and that said life in the nation's most expensive city need not be this way any longer. And
I saw a tweet that did such a phenomenal job of encapsulating the reason why the Democrats lost and keep losing and love losing, which is this one. The original tweets here essentially are saying that this guy felt lost and listless until the DSA saved him by giving him a community focused on bringing change, so on and so forth. And this sneering neoliberal said, hard to debate people whose case for DSA is literally, quote, a path out of my post-college mental health crisis. Literally mocking the idea of a person's life being improved because they felt hopeful for change. Like this model of political engagement where politics is just hobbyism and you're only ever meant to engage with politics as a kind of like tweed-lead policy-based electoral thing is so ahistorical. It's literally never been like that. Life-changing political movements are is this not how a person would talk about the civil rights movement or about the suffragette movement or about the second wave feminist movement or about literally any BLM, like literally any like large political movement ever, unions back in the early 20th century. But I don't think Democrats believe in this. I don't think they do. They don't want you to feel hopeful for change or whatever. They just want you to like engage with it as though it's a little fiddly idle game that you play in the background. Like, well, what's the optimal policy? Oh, that's the optimal policy. Okay, we'll do that then. And then you get shocked as the Republicans just dunk on your ass over and over and over and over and over again. Sorry, a bit off topic. Hold on, I've got too many tabs open. I'm going to lose track of what I'm talking about. All right, Mamdani, take it away. It's so condescending. They do hate their voters. Republicans wish they were as anti-democracy as the average anti-DSA Democrat.
Wait to have them as partners in D.C. in that work.
So do you see yourself endorsing candidates outside of New York, or?
For now, my focus is on this incredible slate of 3 congressional candidates, as well as you said, the 5 candidates I endorsed who ran and won, who are all going to be heading to Albany in the state legislature. But I do think, as you said, it's not just New York City where working people are asking themselves, why can't I afford my rent? Why can't I afford my groceries? Why can't I find enough money in my pocket for childcare, no matter how hard I work? And I'm so excited that these incredible soon-to-be Congress members will be helping to lead the fight across the country on making sure that working people are right there where they should be, which is the heart of the conversation.
The reaction from Democrats has been something. You've had some prominent Democrats dismissive of what happened here. I mean, you had Senator Blumenthal say the effort to nationalize New York is going to fail. What happened in New York will be really irrelevant by the time of the elections in November. Hakeem Jeffries basically said the same thing, saying that this is not indicative of what needs to happen in November. What do you make of that?
You know, I think that when you ask Americans what they're feeling in this moment, amidst reports of an economy that's strengthening, of a stock market that's booming, you will hear an exhaustion at having to try and make ends meet every single day, every single week, every single month, and that it's getting harder and harder. And so a message of fighting for working people, we don't have to nationalize that message. That is a national message. It's a national crisis. And for far too long, all we've had to say as a party is opposition to the current administration. What do we have to say beyond that? And what these candidates offer is a vision that extends beyond the midterms, it extends beyond 2028. It speaks to what makes so many of us proud to be Democrats. It speaks to a vision that goes back to a New Deal understanding of what working people deserve. And I'll tell you that for too long, that kind of politics, you can only find it in history books, and we need to bring it back to the present day.
And you're hearing some not just dismissive, though. There's resentment. And this is from fellow Democrats who think that this could jeopardize.
Then die. What do you think is the path forward? I do think the DSA is probably our best road to like coordinating action within the Democratic Party, but I don't really know about the path forward. I don't think we have enough time. I think it might be over. Well, in my mind, we're just trying to position things such that when the collapse happens, people blame the right people, and we have good people in charge who can kind of like pick up the pieces. You know what I mean? I don't really know how. Like, I feel like we're operating on such a short timetable right now that even if the DSA got their shit together outside of New York City, it wouldn't even be like, there wouldn't even be enough time. I don't know.
Democratic chances in the fall. I mean, you've got Josh Gottheimer, a Democratic member of Congress, says, many of us believe, as do I, if you're a socialist, you are not a Democrat. And in fact, they put out a manifesto today. Have you seen this thing?
Sounds pretty socialist to me.
It's not a communist manifesto. It's a moderate manifesto saying, we are capitalist, not socialist. We believe in a growing, fair, and competitive economy, entrepreneurship, ownership. I mean, this is a direct response. They've made it clear to what you did here on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, you know, that's great, but what's a party if not its voters? And I'm proud to sit in front of you as the mayor of our city, having received more than 1 million votes, a little over.
Moderate Democrats literally never talk about their voters. It's why Chuck Schumer had to invent his embarrassing fake voter thing, his imaginary voters who are like Republicans. Moderate Democrats never talk about what the voters want. They never do it.
A little less than a year ago. And when we're talking about these incredible congressional candidates, they won their races, and they won their races with a vision of what politics should be, and one that actually speaks to working people. And for a lot of people who ask themselves, what does democratic socialism mean? And you can tell them the answer at a theoretical level. It's the choice to extend democracy from the ballot box the rest of their lives. But in terms of what it means over these last 7 months, we've seen a city with democratic socialist principles at the heart of it within our administration. And what we've delivered has been record lows when it comes to murders and shootings.
So is it pragmatic democratic socialism?
I think democratic socialism at the heart is pragmatic, because if we cannot deliver for working people, then what is this for? I'm not interested in...
It's so fucking annoying that democratic socialists have to defend their policies and their behavior when the entire Western world, literally with no exceptions, has been completely controlled by neoliberals for 40 years, and everywhere is crumbling. Literally everywhere. We're facing budget crises, urban decay, infrastructure collapse, tightening and like impossible budgetary problems, and total listlessness, political apathy everywhere, literally everywhere in the West. America, the United Kingdom, Germany, France, everywhere. It's happening everywhere. And still, we're like, we castigate democratic socialists as though they're the impractical ones, you know? It's insane.
A manifesto, or frankly in reading one. I'm interested in delivering, and that's exactly what we've been showing.
But they're saying that if you're a socialist, you're not a Democrat. I mean, is there room in the party for both of these views?
Yes, here I am. Here are so many more. And I think what makes our party a beautiful party is the fact that it's a big tent, that we have.
But you've also said it has to be a party with a spine, with a backbone.
Yes, so even a tent has to stay up.
Yes, so, you know, does it have to stand firmly for these ideas that you're talking about that others are calling dangerous?
I think it has to stand.
They never ask moderate Democrats this. They never, ever, ever do.
For working people. And I think it has to be willing to fight for working people. And I think that there are some who are offended by the prospect of a party that knows who it fights for and goes every day to work for that. Because what we've seen over many years is a willingness to not only explain away the status quo, but frankly even to look to benefit from the status quo. And that's not what working people are looking for from our party.
As New Yorkers were going to vote, you said something interesting. You said, the race for 2028 starts now, the presidential race. What did you mean by that?
Well, a lot of pundits ask me about this race and what it means and how to think about it. And at the core of Tuesday's results was a message from Democratic voters across the largest city in the United States of America about the kind of politics they want to see. And we know that we oppose the cruelty of the federal administration. What is it that we stand for beyond that?
So you can't just be anti-Trump.
You can't.
Obviously.
You got to have something you are not just willing to stand up for, but that you're also...
Mind you, the average Democrat right now isn't even meaningfully anti-Trump. Like, that would be a nice bar to reach, wouldn't it? Like that's a nice point to aspire to. Wouldn't it be nice if we lived in a country where Democrats were meaningfully anti-Trump, you know?
So willing to explain how this is relevant to working people. And I think this just comes back to the fact that I'm leading a city that's the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. I could end the sentence there and say that life is great for 8.5 million people, but it's also a city where 1 in 4 are living in poverty. And for far too many Americans, those contradictions have become their day-to-day life. And we need a party that's able to recognize the strengths of this economy and understand that it hasn't reached enough people.
Now, there's been a lot of attention. One of the candidates you supported who won, who knocked off an incumbent Democrat, is...
I feel like the 20% of Americans live in poverty point is actually underselling it, because that feeling of desperation, that the floor is caving out beneath your feet, is hitting like 90% of Americans. Like, my understanding is that poverty used to be poverty, and then the middle class meant you got to enjoy some degree of comfort and security. But that's not a thing anymore. Nobody has job security. Right? Like, people are desperate at every level. That wasn't the case back in the 1990s. Back in the 1990s, by and large, people in the middle class were, I'm not going to pretend they were rich. They weren't. In fact, on average, they had less money than the middle class today. But the security in their life, it seemed, the perceived security, and that's exactly what security is. When we're talking about, economic confidence, these things are real, right? Like, there's a difference between the validity of a person's perception of criminality. Like, what's the likelihood of me being murdered? Well, that's an empirically verifiable statistic. You can look it up. But a person's confidence in the economy, in their own finances, determines their spending. It determines how much they save. It's a real stat. It matters. And everybody feels like the writing's on the wall right now. Everybody, from the bottom to the top, except for like basically the people on the very, very, very top, they all feel like the ground is crumbling beneath their feet.
Darlisa Villa-Chalier, she said some very controversial things, including calling for the abolition of prisons, couldn't say whether or not somebody who had committed murder
Who cares?
should be in prison, called for open borders, against all deportations, including those of violent criminals. Are those positions that the Democratic Party could win on nationally?
I think what the Democratic Party can win on nationally is a focus on working people. And I think that
they never asked this about, any moderates, less extremist than a moderate Zionist. Oh, that's great. She doesn't think murderers should get deported or whatever. You think that Israel should be allowed to deploy rape dogs to torture Palestinian children to death without trial. So what are we talking about here? Well, I just don't feel like a great moral need to defend my positions to these schools. You know what I mean? They should be begging for forgiveness.
What I saw from Darlisa when I would walk the streets of her district was a focus on what she describes as a politics of life. She would talk about how we have to invest in babies, not bombs. She's now going to represent what is one of the poorest districts in the United States of America. And what people in that district are exhausted by is a politics that has justified the spending of tens of billions of dollars in killing civilians overseas, while working people are struggling just to do the basics.
But how does abolishing prisons or having open borders fit into that? I mean, do you see how those are ideas that a lot of your Democrats that are warning about what happened here say are toxic? Most of America won't go along with it. Are bad ideas. They're dangerous ideas.
I think what the focus of her race was, what the focus of her candidacy was about the struggle that working people are facing. And I think that we can have disagreements on policy positions. What we have to agree on is what are we fighting for and who are we fighting for? She showed that in her race, and I think that many people will come to appreciate that in her leadership to come.
So we can disagree on something as basic as whether or not there should be prisons?
That's
not your position.
There are prisons, yes. And what we're also showing in this city is that safety is not something that's up.
They're just so fucking uninterested in any solutions, man. They don't give a shit. They're so incurious. They're so fucking contemptuous and condescending. Because they think their viewers don't see right through this, you know? One of the reasons nobody watches mainstream media anymore. By and large, when people see this, like, everyone's taking Mamdani's side, you know? He's defending, he's speaking, he's the voice of like a very small consolidated group of capital holders. It's not like ABC's viewers are watching this and going, you know, oh, he's doing such a good job being honest while interviewing Mamdani.
For debate, it's something that we're actually delivering on, and I'm proud to be the mayor of a city that currently has the lowest recorded number of murders and shootings in recorded history in New York City.
So there was also a take, it's not just Democrats, you've probably heard what President Trump had to say about you and about the candidates you supported, and he warned that if socialists win, and he calls you communists, but you will start living in squalor, there'll be no food, no housing, no military, no law and order, there'll be nothing, and he had a few other choice words. By the way, he also said he still likes you.
Depends on who you are, Nuts. I think that a big shift is long overdue where we start describing our opponents with the contempt they deserve.
But what do you make of what he, I mean, the Republicans are going to make you the poster child for the Democratic Party.
Let them. We don't have to ask ourselves what life looks like if a socialist wins. I won last November, and over the course of these last 6 months, what we've delivered for working people are the very things we were told were impossible. We've delivered free childcare for 2-year-olds for the first time in New York City history. We've delivered tens of millions of dollars back to tenants who were taken advantage of by bad landlords. We've delivered 165,000 potholes being paved. And we've done all of these things while also delivering the lowest recorded crime in our city's history.
Nah, Nuts, this person on the left is more dangerous than any Nazi, with the exception of those who run Israel. These people who hold water for the elites, who selectively curtail, who curate their language in an effort to undermine the reputation of our only hopes to preserve Western civilization. These people are far more damaging than any actual existing Nazis. The average Nazi is what? I don't know, a prison gang member? Some retard incest baby with 80 IQ, tattoos? I don't know. These people are far more dangerous.
That's what it looks like to have democratic socialism. And what you're seeing is that New Yorkers experienced this for 6 months and made the decision that they wanted to see more of it on the national stage as well.
Can a democratic socialist get elected president?
I think a democratic socialist can get elected anywhere across this country for any position. What I think we need to bring is a focus on working people.
And that's the direction that the party should go in terms of selecting a candidate for 2028.
I think the direction that the party should go in is how best to fight for working people. I think we need to have a platform and a vision that doesn't sound as if it was cooked up by consultants, but instead one that you would say in response to someone who's asking, why can't I afford my rent? Why can't I afford my groceries? Why can't I afford my childcare? We need to make clear who we stand for, how we're going to stand for them, and that we're actually willing to fight for them when the going gets tough.
Obviously, Israel was a big issue in these races. Not the only issue, but a big issue. Is there room in the Democratic Party for candidates, officials who support Israel, not just support Israel, but support military aid for Israel? No. This was a huge issue for you.
Well, I think what we've seen is that...
It really wasn't a huge issue for him at all. He's not a national politician. He was running as mayor. You made it a huge issue. It really wasn't a huge issue. He basically didn't talk about it at all because it wouldn't be his job.
Time for us as elected officials to pronounce what the party should be is one that should come to an end, and we should let Democratic voters themselves take the lead. And we've seen on Tuesday evening, we saw Democrats turn out in districts across the city to make clear that they were tired of tens of billions of dollars being spent in our taxpayer dollars to violate international law, to kill thousands of civilians. And you and I know that right now, the way that Palestine is described is as if there is a ceasefire. That's the language that's typically used. Yeah. More than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed in that ceasefire. And what New Yorkers want to see is a politics of conscience, a politics of clarity, a politics of conviction. And to follow international law, to believe in the humanity of all people, it shouldn't be a journey too far. And I think that our party needs to hear what Democrats are telling it.
Democratic Socialists of America now says they no longer favor a two-state solution.
Dog, it's frustrating because they're going to keep doing this forever, man. Like, even as the Israeli rape dogs roll over the continental United States like the fucking rumbling, and you know, half of the previously habitable surface of the planet is underwater, they're still going to be doing this. Their fucking rape army is going to kill billions, and they're still going to be smugly interviewing the only people who give a shit, being like, okay, well, you've been accused by Mega Hitler of being anti-Semitic. How do you respond? They don't... It's not even a conversation.
Is that the way you see it as well? The idea of two states, Palestinian, Jewish state side by side living in peace?
The way I see it is equal rights for all people. And I think that that's the truth for Israel. It's the truth for any country in the world. And frankly, as we're coming up close to the 250th anniversary of our nation, one of the things that makes me proudest to be an American is the belief that equal rights are at the bedrock of our notion of what it means to be an American.
And the idea of a Jewish state, Israel is a Jewish state, that's in the charter. That's the way it is now. Do you support that?
I've said time and again that I support the state of Israel as a state with equal rights. I believe that any state that preferences...
But as a Jewish state is the question.
I think any state that privileges one religion over the other is one that I can't tell you I support, whether it be Israel or Saudi Arabia or anywhere else. And a lot of that comes back to a fundamental belief that we should all be considered equal no matter what our faith is.
How big a problem, you said it's rising, is anti-Semitism
Jesus Christ, man.
in this city?
We've seen anti-Semitism rise in this city. We've seen the fact that Jewish New Yorkers comprise a minority of our city's population and yet continue to constitute a majority of the hate crimes that have been purveyed in this city. And that's something that's unacceptable. It's something that we will never come to see as if it is a part of life. It's something that has to be fought and rooted out of every one of the 5 boroughs.
What did you think when Dan Goldman, that coffee shop in Brooklyn, said that they wouldn't serve him because of his support for Israel? You have a problem with, I mean, the idea of, you know, of a establishment like that saying they're not going to serve somebody if they support Israel?
I've said that I have political disagreements with Congressmember Goldman. I do believe that that's a response that goes beyond that.
So that's not the right kind of thing?
No, I think it's much better to keep that critique in the way that we've done it.
Okay, so we're just about out of time. I got to ask you, I noticed...
I'm fine with it.
That you're turning 35 soon, right?
In a few months, yes.
So you now hit one of the constitutional requirements.
I honestly think this is one of the most comical examples of this I've ever seen. I think that most people who watch this would take Mamdani's side. What I want people to recognize is that the behavior of Jonathan here that's the interviewer, is extremely anti-democratic. Well, I want people to stop focusing on the individual and start focusing on the systematic, right? When a journalist who has been working for decades and decades is this committed to missing the point, like we recognize it when we see it from Fox News. When Fox News does like a really bad or dishonest interview, like they bring on a Democratic candidate and they just, you know, rail him with bad faith questions, we all recognize this is not just an individual interviewer being stupid or belligerent, but rather a symptom of the fact that Fox News is a propaganda network interested in advancing a set of, well, interests. We need to do this as well, because people still, they're like, oh, this guy sucks. It's not this guy, man. It's ABC News and every institution this guy has ever worked for and alongside. He's been in this gig for decades, man. He's a well-known reporter, chief Washington correspondent for ABC News. And this behavior is not just some personal bias on his part. It's a reflection of the interest of the institution, which is an utter incuriousness in how any of these problems are solved. You know, I think it's worse than Fox News, because Fox News is at least so biased that people who are out of the political spectrum that Fox News targets recognize it as deliberate propaganda. But people who don't necessarily watch ABC News will often still watch this and go, wow, this Jonathan guy sure is obsessed with Israel, and not like the institution desperately wants Mamdani to fail, and they will frame everything in that light, you know? The powers that be are as likely to recognize Mamdani's success as the fucking New York Post is. They will never do it. Mamdani could cure cancer and deliver a utopia for every American living in New York, and they would still shit on him. There is nothing he could ever do that will change their perspective, because they don't care how good of a job he does. They actually like him less the better of a job he does.
Run for president. But there's another one that says you have to be a natural-born citizen. You were not born here.
Yes.
But do you think that's something that should be changed in the Constitution? It would take an amendment, but do you think that we should change that?
No.
No.
I think the Constitution looks good the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Just the way it is. I'm very excited to focus on New York City, but thank you for reminding me of my upcoming
35
mortality.
years old. 35 years old. All right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Great. Phenomenal. Anyway, this was recorded before Mamdani joined the Pride Parade in New York City. So that's good. Leading the flow.
You gotta walk, you gotta walk, you gotta walk. You gotta walk, you gotta walk, you gotta walk.
I don't want Mamdani to run for president because I think it's pathetic that we have to hinge all of our hopes on one fucking guy. Like, everyone in America hates the powers that be, hates Congress, hates the establishment Democrats. Why does it have to be one guy? We need institutional solutions, not just hinging on one fucking guy. Anyway, God bless him, and hopefully he freezes the rent more just so that it makes the fucking globe heads on Twitter angrier. Here's a later clip. Do I want to see it? I do. I hope he stays safe, man. It's only a matter of time before some lunatic Zionist tries to take a shot. Sliwa, the New York City Pride Parade. I don't think Basil should get to Sliwa posts, considering he's anti-Mamdani, in my opinion.